Brian Lauri.
Welcome back to All That Jam, where music has no limits. I saw an interesting post on Facebook, and then it popped in my head that I had seen something about this before. And you have a ongoing sort of project with a couple of the guys from Mel, which we're going to jump into in a minute. But how are you today?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Nice.
I'm stoked.
Nice. So yeah, why don't you just give me the nickel tour, how you got started, and then we'll jump into some of the really interesting stuff you have going on.
Cool. Pretty much started when I was young, and then kept playing piano all the way through. I went to, high school, college. I did college music. Graduated from there. I was up in Vermont, which when I was in Vermont, I met a lot of people within the, I guess, the Fish community. I worked at a head shop right in Burlington through the late 90s. So like I was working next in this place called Silverman next to the Flynn, and Fish played that night. So that, it was like that kind of stuff, real close to the whole inner workings of it. And so continue to meet people, play. Started doing different bands. Met some people in Rhode Island, started to meet people, and then moved around that way, graduated school, and then I have a studio, so I do a lot of studio work lately. Doing some stuff with Seth Iacovone and others, Root Shock, and then other than that, just doing this now. So it's been pretty much just music straight through. It's been the connecting dot in my life. Did sports and everything, but music.
Seth was in Derek Truck's band, wasn't he? That name is jumping out at me.
Seth Iacovone, SYB, and I guess you might know him also. He played with Fish. And he played Layla with Fish. It was a young age. He's Vermont, and done a lot of shows that way. He's really, really great player. Fairly well known, like I said, in our community. If he's sort of sprinkled. So yeah, he's great. Great new stuff. It's awesome.
Right. So Amanda, do we want to talk Bob Dylan or do we want to talk hip hop? I'll let you choose which road we choose for adventure.
We're all favorite books. I want to talk hip hop just because I grew up in the Northeast,
Sure.
early mid 90s. To me, the intersection of all of that is a very natural thing just because it was around at the same time. So yeah, I'd love to know about your roots with all of that and kind of what you've done in that area.
Well, I've always loved Biggie, and I've always loved that, especially Biggie, because he reminded me a lot of the way he delivered was very back of the beat, very like he was a very chill, like it's hard to explain, but he actually sat back on the groove, so it caught my ear. It was very melodic in a certain way, so I really liked him all the way through the high school years when we were listening to the Dead. I graduated in 93. So during that whole period, if you weren't listening to the Dead, you were listening to some hip hop many times. Biggie did was part of that. And that whole culture, the whole culture actually connects better than I thought in terms of the lifestyle. It's just said in a very different way, so you're getting similarities, two very opposite, but very together ideas, And so yeah, and with that, it was sort of always loved it. And then this band called Frank White, they were a Biggie tribute from the area, and they've been doing a lot of work. They've been playing a lot around. They were talking about doing a Grateful Dead Biggie tribute, and I was like, no. I was like, I don't know any of the Biggie tunes really. And then so somehow I ended up in the bedroom with them, and it worked out awesome. And we sort of looked at it like, okay, how do we put the songs together even lyrically? So like lyrically, if it's about Casey Jones, how do you do that? And we would do 10 Commandments so the lyrical connection was there for each song. And then we tried to write it so that you'd have the Dead song or you'd have the Biggie song sort of interplaying with each other. So there was a lot of thought going into each song of how we can do it so that they are very intertwined, and you can go. It's almost like during a Fire on the Mountain, we switched to Big Papa by verse. So all of a sudden they get a big Papa verse, and then they get a Fire on the Mountain verse, and it just grabs them every time, because they're like, wow, that fits. So it's been really cool to see it grow quickly that way. Of us just saying, well, let's try it, and
I was going to say, you just referenced this a little bit, but in terms of the reactions that you would get to the concept, I mean, I'm thinking people were really receptive to it once they heard it. Would you hear from people that like, wow, I never thought of this before, or people like, actually, yeah, to me, this is something that feels so like right, authentic?
It's funny because the only example I can think of, because it's the easiest, is I remember after maybe our second or third, we were doing 3 or 4 show run, and after one song, somebody yells out, "It works!" So it's like I was like, "Oh, there we go." So that's sort of the how are they going to pull? You almost get that as and then they get in, they're like, "Oh, okay," and then I see how it, and then by the end they're buying in. So it's drastic how people will say that can't work, and then it does. So yeah, every place you go, it's like that, pretty much.
So how do you resolve what seems something that might be diametrically opposed, the freeform jam part of the Grateful Dead, with the structure of a rap song? How did you figure out when you're building the song out, we're going to put Big Papa on Fire on the Mountain? Do you leave space that that there's going to be a few minutes to jam with it, or is it completely organic?
I would say it's looked at consistently like on the Grateful Dead edge. We're definitely hitting it from that angle. So by saying that, I would say, yes, you're going to have times where it's going to open into a jam, or we're going to, yeah. So if you just take the Dead and then place lyrics over stuff, once in a while we'll hit the Biggie groove, and we'll hit that like during Shakedown Street. I can't Hypnotize. We do with Shakedown Street. So the grooves are very similar, so we can switch back and forth real quick. Other than that, we get into a jam. It opens up. The dude who does Biggie, Scribe, he pretty much will either get off stage or rap some of his own stuff. So we'll go into that world maybe, or we'll do a 40-minute, 20-minute jam with just us playing. Nice. Jam it like it would be Fish or the Dead. Which it's sort of a connection of both for us.
Why don't we give everybody a foundation? What are the band and the instruments that you have that you're using to recreate?
For that one, as of now, we have drums. We're going with one drummer, which is actually worked out because the groove is the groove of the, you're not getting the flam or the off hit. And I love that with the Dead. When I'm in the Dead world, that's all I want. I need it. But yeah, so in this one, so we have one drum, bass, 2 guitars, and one of the guitarists, the rhythm guy, does a lot of Bobby stuff or about the Jerry stuff, and then he on keys, and we have Scribe, the dude who does the Biggie.
So no DJ,
no DJ, no. We have them, but we haven't really got to it. So there's been talk about a few. So that's definitely on the radar as we maybe hit Colorado and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, definitely no DJ, which is going to be interesting when we do. So
if let's say someone has not had a chance to experience this before, and they may live in an area where they're not able to see you live, is there somewhere someone could go to just get a feel for what you do? They could listen for themselves.
I would say there will be. It's one of those we were gonna stop. That's a good answer, right? No, I mean, but I do know we basically we're trying to figure out how to do that because we're trying to keep it under wraps. So it is what it is. You don't want it. We're in an interesting moment where we're building, so we're still getting our sounds. So I would say in a little bit we'll start releasing some stuff. We might even go in the studio a little bit. We might do some live studio stuff. We got stuff that might happen and probably will in the near future. But for now, I'd say there's not a lot out there.
We gotta set you up with a mixler at least. We got to set you up with a mixler at least the next time you play.
A little teaser for people are going to go, whoa, wait a second. What am I hearing now? I love it.
Totally.
Mixler always works so well too. There's never any issue there. No offense to
Never a problem. Not at all. I listen to most of the Dead and Company on Mixler, so
yeah. I mean, that was a jam for a while there. Do people still use Mixler a lot? I don't really. I usually watch Couch Tour now, so I don't even know. Is it a consistent? Is that okay? So that's sort of where they're.
I have a couple of friends that's their thing. Like they're going to throw up a Mixler
right.
when they're out.
I think Billy Strings does free Mixlers every night still.
Okay, cool. So it's just dependent. It's there.
Yeah,
people are using it.
The band is. But with Fish, of course I'm going to watch it.
You got it. Yeah, that was a dumb statement. Yeah. Fish is the easy one.
I'm with you.
I'm watching the fingers like.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So you teamed up. I guess I saw posters for maybe July and August with something called BOBs, all lowercase, period, which perked your attention just seeing that. And it turns out it's you and Alan Vinnie from Mel. Is that who's in it with you?
Yeah, it is. Yep. That was a thing that just came together. It was one of Orlando. Rhythm guitarist. He was in Extra Grove back, and he actually grew up with them. Like I say,
it'll catch up. Maybe.
Yeah, So then basically that spring we got together, did a show. We hadn't practiced or anything. We just called the tunes and then beforehand, and Elle and Vinnie seemed to love it. It was really, So we did the last one we did this summer was with, it was Vinnie's birthday and we raged it, so like, it's turned into this very low amount of work per se. Because we know this stuff so well, it's just reviewing and you get on stage and rock and they sound, it's an honor, I would never think I'd get that.
No, what went into the choices for the songs that you do? Well, can you give me like an overview? How late do you go? Do you get into like Brownsville Girl, Knocked Out Loaded era, 80s and one, or do you stick with the 70s, 60s stuff?
I would say, it's sort of moving into the Jerry band area, so you're going to have that sort of crossover. And I feel like that's, so if we're wondering which way to go, that would be, we'll go that way, sort of like the Jerry Garcia approach of what songs. That's going to build up because with these runs here, we are going to have to start moving into some of all the stuff, so I'm looking forward to hitting all the, some tunes that people aren't used to hearing at any show, so that over time. For now, it's pretty much big tunes everybody knows.
Right. I mean, because some of the later stuff is just fantastic and gets
fantastic.
Gets lost in the shuffle. Oh, Mercy is a fantastic album. Might be one of his best albums, sonically and everything. I mean, the production is.
See, and it's interesting because Charlie Orlando, he's again the guy who sort of put it together, and I would say pretty much picks the songs. Him and Al sort of together. They're masterminds at Dylan. They are. I mean, Charlie's been playing Dylan forever. So he runs it. So like I am getting what you're saying to me regularly now. Bro, you check out this, check out that, so I'm not thrown to the fire, but I'm listening. So you're right. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't realize. Even, I missed it. So it's really cool to get some with ears that haven't really hit it too much. So I'm there with it and I'm loving it. The keyboard work's so fun. So Bob's an interesting keyboard player, and how he does it is really you go out a different way than you would many others. So yeah.
Right. The other night he played, I guess, Farm Aid, and John Mellencamp played, and John Mellencamp did Watchtower, and then Dylan, when he came out for his set, played Watchtower for the first time since 2018, and he broke out a guitar for it.
That's awesome. I mean, it was, I mean, he's been rocking, right? I mean, now is it 2025s? He's finishing up, isn't he?
Yeah,
From what I've heard.
that's what people
Yeah.
are saying.
Yeah.
I've also heard that he's going to record an album, and that's why we've been hearing all the Grateful Dead songs, and he's going to do an album of all the Grateful Dead songs.
All right. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. You're like, oh my God, he's going to murder Stella Blue, but the lyric lends itself to the road weary voice that he has, you know.
Absolutely. Champion. Yeah, world class. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. It's amazing how many he busted out this last couple of years. I remember we went to Europe. It was recent, I guess. And man, every night he was doing a Dead tune. I was like, wow, he's just throwing down, and he just didn't stop. And I was like, that'd be awesome. Put that in the studio, you know. Looking forward to it for sure.
So I was curious, Brian. You know, we're talking a lot about these different genres, and you know, even just this most recent part of the conversation about kind of bringing things together. I was curious, in your opinion, you know, just from the status of the music community and like the jam scene, you know, where do you feel like it is today? You know, are people who are kind of coming out newer to the scene to see music, do you feel like they're looking for the same things that they were like years ago? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's becoming more of a cross section. Even I don't know, because it's tough to go after Fish. It's tough. You're in it's a strange world. We're right now. But it's definitely, you know, so we're in this area right now. I think there's some pivots being made to prepare for possibilities, and I think they're really nice ones. And I think those bands that are actually growing fairly quickly are, again, it looks good. Numbers are looking good. Numbers are looking real good for a lot of these. I'd say mid-tier bands that are, I mean, they're almost moving up to theaters and arenas, and you know, you're getting the Goose big shows. And their stuff I'd say their stuff is a great example. You know, you're seeing sort of the songwriting and the jam, and that's sort of the Dead approach, because the play around in the Fish world with that approach is nuts. You know, you're really working, because Fish is they're a math band that knows how to jam. You know, I was talking to somebody yesterday about that. They know how to groove. Their drummer knows how to play cool grooves under math, under nerd music, and then it all feels together into this great. You know, it's hard to write that way. It's hard to write that way.
I don't necessarily need a message.
Right. Fair enough. Absolutely right. So,
well, we'd still be seeing them if we felt like we did, you know, from way back, and that's okay.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Yep. You know, it's just crazy. Like, so in the music world, we don't know what's coming next. We have AI that tends to be sort of bubbling under us, you know. So and my statement on the AI thing would be, the more you do one takes in studios, the more you do live music, the more you're human. So you can't, it's harder to get a human. Each one's playing. It's hard to get them to be AI'd if they're doing it on a take. So when I get there, I play my first solo in the studio, and that's all I do. Even if it's weird, it's far more human than everything else, which is really laid out nowadays. You can click track and move things around. So we're giving it to the AI that way. So I'm thinking, like, just be more. So everything together, I think it's moving forward. I think bands are really good. Will always rise to the top. The cream does, and you know, it's not an easy business. There's a lot of hard work. You know, not a lot of money, a lot of hard work.
My nightmare vision of AI is that within 3 years, incidental music commercials will all be done by AI.
I mean, what else would you do? I mean, even financially alone, you know,
right?
And their deadlines and all that stuff. It's just too easy, you know. Right. But that being said, the live music will always be there, I feel like, or at least for a long time to come. So we keep leaning on that. Record sales never made bands much money. So, you know, is that live thing, you know, so
that's all you can do, right?
It is.
Well, now
it is.
Let me ask you, we talked about two cover projects you do. You also write and record your own music. You want to get into a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I have a bunch of music that I've had through the years, and I've never done much with it. So that's pretty much it. I've been, lately, the last year I've dropped here and there because this other stuff takes so much time that I don't get a chance to do much. Actually, there's a band, Ruha, that I was starting up, and there's another band, Saint Savage. There's two bands that I've been working with who are starting to do my originals because a couple of them take time. So there's a little bit of melodic stuff going on that, you got to sit down with it. It's another thing is sitting down with music to learn it instead of just doing a easy jam is difficult. So, but yeah, so with those, I am starting to play my music live. I don't know in terms of releasing, it's been sort of haphazard, but I continue to write and it's great. I would say probably the next 6 months, I'll probably get something together for another like some kind of release, just sort of pull different members in that I know from the area. It's easy when I have the studio as long as it's not booked, I can do that. So yeah. It's great. I love writing. Writing is
and with cloud storage, it really is easy to say to someone, hey, I know you're 100 miles away. Here's the song. Can you throw down the bass line for me or whatever? Definitely.
Absolutely. That's how we did the recent one with Charlie Orlando again. He's been releasing stuff, and everything he did, he went on the road for 2 years, and the whole time he was on the road, he was recording guitar parts wherever he was. He was like and when he's on the road, he had a van or a RV and lived in that with his wife, and so he would send me the tracks. And he'd take a picture of him like sitting in pretty much his front seat of his RV ripping his tune, And so I took all that and dropped it in, and so we did it. We did exactly what you said, and he was on the road, So we really that's awesome, to be releasing, and he's in wherever sending me tracks, So that's great. That's great.
I would love to live in an RV.
I was just thinking something very similar. Well, and it made me think too, Brian, when we talk to people, for the most part, in the jam band scene, touring is what it is. That's the life. But, not everybody feels that that's what they're meant for. Do you like being on the road? What is that like for you?
It's tough. It's tough. It depends on what level you are. If you're that's really it. If you're selling tickets, then it ain't so bad. So, it's one of those feelings. So as long as you're working hard and you're moving up, the bigger band gets. So the band at first it starts with the CRV and then it moves to it, so that I think that's sort of the mindset of like who is willing to do and go as far as they can for as little as they can make financially to get their music out there. And that sometimes has to do with how young you are to do it, or different variations, family, everything like that. But it's hard to travel. It is. That's by far the toughest thing in music, I think. But you got to take care of yourself. It's a lot of stuff going on, with it. So
the cost too.
Alone,
expensive.
Brutal. Even rent a van is, so yeah, cost, you just line them up. That's why even with these bands nowadays, when we say we're going on tour, it's really 4 nights. It's you start to play the sort of semantics on like, all right, so can we sell this as a Colorado run tour, and which is a way to do it. Hey, fish has been, it's like one of those things that if you have to, you can do it. You can get your name out there, show people you're playing, but not do 20 nights, where most of the money's going.
The widespread model. Widespread, every other month they do 4 shows.
It's
good money still,
Sure. Lets you be out there, but like you're saying, without that commitment to a month or 6 weeks, which just increases everything. So
everything.
And then I guess you can think, market wise, like you mentioned, Colorado. Sorry, Kev, I couldn't let one chat pass. So I live in Denver.
Cool. Sweet. We'll see you soon.
Yeah. So I'm Northeast. So grew up there and have lived all over. But I see a lot of bands, and maybe I don't know if this is new or maybe I'm just noticing it more, doing a selected run in a particular place where they can hit 5, 6 different venues, bring on different support or support various bands. So there's a lot of thought that has to go into that.
A lot. That's it. You just said it perfectly. That's really what's happening. And and it's funny because you say that. I think the support is a very important part, and finding good support in local areas that can bring 50 people. We're not talking about 5,000. We're talking about 50. We're talking about 20. These numbers are way smaller cars that we're traveling. A lot less money. But so if you get a band that does 20 to 50 people in the night, that's really going to help you for those nights. So you also sort of keeping an eye out for the talent in the area, because as soon as that talent pops over 100, you're not going to get them anymore. And you will, but it becomes more difficult. So there's a lot that goes into it. Just trying to line it up so that it works in a place that you're not going to go back to for 6 months to a year. You have to sort of have them remember that for that one night or 2 nights So it's a lot of planning. We have, like, with most of the stuff, we do have management and booking with a lot of this. So we're at least at that level with most of these bands, that there is somebody at the helm, which is massively important, because of that.
All you need is a Mixler now.
The takeaway
is let me ask you about something that's in the headlines about the road. What do you make of Jane's addiction?
Wow.
A hard-hitting question.
Wow.
Yeah.
Geez. There'll be a lot of things going on there. I'll tell you what, there's a story. There's definitely who knows?
The band released a statement saying that the road's hard and we got to end the tour. Right. And then Dave Navarro released a statement, and he's like, Perry's a knucklehead, basically, in not so nice words.
I don't want to be a manager of that. That's for sure. Right. Because
what do you think happens to poor Love and Rockets, who signed up to go on tour with him? They just lost half their tour.
Yep. It's that simple. And that's how tough the business is.
There's no compensation for them built into it.
Some of that is that is where it gets dicey, because where we had it with Root Shock, which is the major original band I'm in. We're releasing an EP next month. That band, it was COVID. It was like the 2000 when it was that April or whatever. Remember, it hit, and just before it hit, we had 20 nights booked. We had a whole CD ready to start, and it stopped in its tracks. So it's interesting. And then we had the situation where the places that we held, who does the money? We were paid $500. Do we hand it back? Like, what is it? So there is a lot of, that's an interesting thought of what the opener is going to have to do with this. It depends on what their manager got signed.
I don't know if you were around when they released their first album, I guess, after Bauhaus broke up, the one with No New Tale to Tell on it, when I was a senior in high school. And it was on everyone's playlist. You went to the keg party on Friday night, you were going to hear that song. So I was so psyched to see. But they aren't exactly the same thing. They're very different.
Because that was almost like that age for them was perfect. Like during that time we're talking about, it was like, it's that feeling, it was, yeah. I mean, I think they canceled what they canceled. They're doing a Hartford or something. I think they canceled that. It's canceled, right? Did they cancel the tour yet?
Yeah, they canceled it today. Yeah. They canceled.
They did cancel today. Okay, so
like officially, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're done.
You know how many people want to play in 20,000 person venues? Interesting. Yeah, they're done. I heard they barely got back together. So
And if you looked on Ticketmaster 2 days ago, most of the venues were maybe a third sold. So they might have been a gracious way to. Last night, Ryan and Bayless reenacted the Jane's Addiction thing on stage for everyone.
Okay, I love
I mean,
yeah.
that's epic.
Why can't I picture that and just imagine that would have been a very funny thing, especially knowing their relationship.
Hilarious.
Yeah, they had Tim and Mike from Lotus come out, and they did In the Kitchen, and I guess they had this whole production in it.
Yeah. Well, in my take, I talked to Kevin about this actually earlier today. I said there's a part of me that's like, I want my rock and roll, like I want there to be the edge. But I mean, obviously this is a very extreme situation.
I need help.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. There's layers to this, and there's years and years of stuff, right? That's like embedded. At the same time, there's like this one little part of me that says, to see, pure emotion and like just the veil come off. It's like, I don't want there to be a canceled tour, all that, but you know what? We're human, and we're messy, and we have all these things that we have to deal with. And there's always been so much emotion, and that's why rock and roll is what it is. And hopefully maybe they can either figure something out or take that and use it for something else.
That's it right there. That was perfectly, again, there's that they're artists, Yeah. You got ego, you got a lot of stuff going on in the entertainment world, and it is what it is. We're human, like you said. It's just, there's a lot of layers, and that they've done. The cool part with them, it'd be like with any band that's great, they already did it, so in the end they've left that mark. So when they're long gone, that's going to be ripping. Jane's is their song 3 days. I mean, come on, it's just going to be amazing. So that's the thing with that. Sometimes the flame gets put out quick with that stuff because they're so volatile. And if you can get them together, record 3 albums, those albums are that important. That if you don't see them again together, you've got that. It's like it's that kind of feeling to me. It's like it's relationships in general. It's a very much a relationship, not a job. So you have that involved.
The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
There you go. I mean,
there's a song for
right there. There you go. Boom. Hit. That's a hit.
Right, so where can we find? It's called Root Shock. Is that the name of the? Yeah,
Root Shocks. Yep. Yep. We're actually doing the release party on the 26th of October, at this place called Middle Ages, which is a really nice venue, new venue in Syracuse. Phenomenal, nice big room. And it's funny because Grateful for Biggie's playing with them, so I'm doing both shows that night. So that'll be great. And that sort of starts what's going to be happening this fall. It's sort of like here we go, giddy up. And so yeah, that's like the next upcoming thing that I'm really stoked about.
All right, where can we find you online?
I would say anywhere you find the bands.
Okay.
Because I really haven't had to be out there that way,
Right.
I don't, it's because it's just being the player I am. I'm in there, I'm part of the situation. So I haven't really pushed on that side of it. It's hard. It's hard to even know where to be on social media, What's that?
You're on Twitter. You like to work on Twitter. I'm a fan of Twitter. I'm a fan of Twitter.
I love Twitter. Twitter's my home, because I don't know any, I like a place where I'm a little anonymous. When I'm not.
Exactly.
I don't like any of it. But yeah, no, did it. Yeah.
No. There we go. So anything else you want to throw in, Amanda?
No. Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, I'd say just that, I'm glad that you're doing what you do. I am always a huge fan of bringing together things that may not immediately seem to have connections, but it's all connected. So thank you for that. And respecting both kind of traditions, thinking of, of those really strong music communities, in their own way, I think is a really great thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Everybody.
I forgot one thing I will say. I forgot about this. I'm doing JLP tonight, And that's something I'd probably tell you. Doing this JLP, which is a trio, and we do Grateful Dead music, but we have a lead bass player, and I play key bass, and keys, and it's a 3-piece. And we're actually playing tonight at Funk and Waffles, which is on Twitch Live.
Okay.
So
cool.
we're playing, and I should have said that, but yeah, that just came up in my head. So yeah, so that'd be the next place you can see. Yeah, yep.
Nice.
So, yeah.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
better than Mixer. Everybody watching later, make sure you like, subscribe. Please leave a comment. We love hearing what people think. We are going to add some links. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. Hang out for a second, Brian. We'll see you all soon.
Right.